right, we are back with a very special signing day edition of Reeling Them In, the Osceola Recruiting Roundup, and we're going to talk about the 2024 signing class that Mike Norvell signed today. 22 high school prospects signed to national letters of intent. FSU is currently ranked 11th in the country by Rivals, and we've already got a special guest in our waiting room. I don't know, Jaden, if you can hear me, hold on. We'll get to you in a second. I can certainly see you, but we'll get to you in a second. All right, guys, it was a very, very busy day today. Florida State signs 22 players, loses 2 players. Let's start with the good news. You got a top 11 class right now. You're not Mike Norvell said in his post-signing day press conference, which they actually added another kid, Denaz White, a defensive tackle from North Carolina, after Mike's press conference, so they continue to add to the class. But top 11 class right now could continue to go up. That does not include the addition of Marvin Jones, who is expected to transfer to Florida State at the beginning of next semester. But Fish, let's start with you. You've been around this a long time, been following Florida State recruiting for a long time. Before we get into individual players, just talk about the totality of the class.
I mean, we've talked about it before, even with the loss of Bolin today. You know, they ended up picking up Kai Bates late in the process, where they have one of the best DB classes still in the country. You know, they really got 4 corners, but any one of those guys can also play safety, so they'll have to move and mix and match some of those guys. But overall, that was a very good class. I think at running back, I really like the 2 running backs, Cameron Davis, and also Makai Danzy, who I think is probably one of the fastest players in the country. They're adding that playmaker, another guy that could basically score from anywhere on the field on one play. So those 2 guys are real nice. Overall, it's a very solid class from top to bottom. We'll discuss it a little more. You'd like to have had a couple more defensive linemen in there, but overall, from top to bottom, it's a pretty good class.
All right, Nick, so this was your first early national signing day. You're kind of dipping your toes into the water that is college football recruiting, and there's probably not a crazier time to be trying to enter the world of college football recruiting than what you are doing. But just talk about your thoughts on you asked us early this morning or last night, is it always this wild? To which we said yes, and may even be wilder now with the NIL and portal than it ever has been. But just talk about your thoughts on the last 3 days since we left FSU's campus on Sunday, and what your last 3 days have been like.
Yeah, no, I said, is it always this chaotic, or did I just get on the wrong train stop? And I also felt like, man, I'm going to develop a smoking habit today, but exclusively on signing day. No, it was a hectic day, but truth be told, I mean, this was a fantastic class for Florida State. It was really good to see it all come together. Obviously, some players leaving, some players joining as late as 6:00 this afternoon. But just watching the closest of this class develop and seeing it all come together was a really interesting experience. And I think that this is, in fact, the best class that Mike Norvell has had since he's been at Florida State.
Yeah, Bob, we've always, we've seen the last several classes kind of be portal intensive, and we do think that we're going to see some new portal additions because of some immediate needs at defensive end, linebacker, a couple other positions. But what were your thoughts? Obviously, you've covered this program for a long time, and obviously been here for all 4 years under Mike. What did you think about this class and the overall talent that it brought in?
So every coach says it's about relationships. I think Mike Norvell and the staff have shown that relationships in Florida and Georgia are strengthened. Yes, we can talk about the guys who slipped away, but 17 out of 22 guys coming from Florida and Georgia, that shows that they've done their job recruiting those schools, those hotbeds where they know that there's talent. Some of them in a short driving distance, some of them flights, Atlanta, Miami, South Florida, et cetera. But I think, Pat, to your point, the coaching staff can't talk about Marvin Jones Jr. yet. We don't know if there's going to be a transfer portal quarterback being added and which one it might be. So we are looking at a small piece of the roster management tonight. It is the high school part. And then, of course, that'll be complemented by what happens in the transfer portal in the coming weeks.
Yeah, all right. So we do have to talk about it. There is an elephant in the room. And there were 2 decommitments today, one which was very much expected in Armando Blunt, who at 6 p.m. signed with Miami. And then a little bit more surprising was KJ Bolden's decommitment from Florida State and signing with Georgia today. Listen, a lot of people thought this was a sure thing. We, as a group, started having some doubts on Sunday based on the way KJ left Florida State. There were some rumors coming in before the weekend that he may take a last-minute unofficial visit to Auburn, which he discounted. He did not do that. But when he was leaving Florida State on Sunday, he's usually a very gregarious guy, likes talking to the media, met with the media for about a minute and a half. One of his family members got out of the SUV, said, "We got to go," which I'd never seen before, not with KJ, not with anybody really. And then, of course, he came back out of the car, was asked two very direct questions. Is he committed to Florida State? Is he signing with Florida State? To which he said yes. And obviously he said no to taking a trip to Auburn. There was a lot of buzz in the last 24 hours about Georgia or Auburn and the fact that he might flip. Fish, you've always said this is one of those outliers, right? You've always said that let's pay attention to what a kid does, not what he says. He has been on Florida State's campus a ton of times over the last calendar year, and those actions married up with what he was saying. How surprised were you with KJ's flip today?
Yeah, I mean, I was very surprised because here's a kid that's been committed for so long and constantly spoke up about Florida State and what it meant, what a childhood dream it was. For them, I think to put in all the hard work and for what happened, it's pretty disappointing on the Florida State side. But this is what you have to deal with when you recruit top end talent. You want the big time players. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. I've always said the great recruiters are the guys that go maybe 1 for 5, but the one they got is really, really good. And, they've gotten some of those guys in this class. Then the guy that goes 5 for 5 and everybody says what a great recruiter they are. You're going to have to deal with this type of situation when you go after top 5 players in the country at their position, especially one that's in the backyard of a team that's won multiple national titles and made the playoffs the last few years. So it's surprising because everything the kids said seemed to lean towards him going to Florida State. Even on his last visit, reporters had asked him, was he committed to Florida State? And he had a chance to come out and say, I could think it over. I have a lot to think over the next couple of days. Florida State's high up on but he did come out and say Florida State was the team that he was going to sign with. And I think that's the disappointing part is you think that these kids. At the end of the day, you really don't. So from that standpoint.
Well, Nick, I'll be interested to get your view on this. Number one, you're a lot younger than we are. You're a lot closer to your college fandom days than we are. Fish and I have been jaded terribly by trying to make a living in this profession. I've seen these flips happen time and time again over the course of my 10 years in college football and obviously being around it my entire life. I've always said never fall in love with a commitment. Anything can happen up until National Signing Day. We saw that. But, all right, so you're a little bit younger than we are. Your first experience through this, you were with us on Sunday when KJ was going through this process with Florida State. When I told you guys that I felt strange about how this was going to play out, what did you think when I said that? And how is a relatively recent FSU alumni feel about how this played out?
Well, maybe I'm just overly mature, I suppose, but I really tried to keep a professional mindset with it. I graduated in 2019 from Florida State. So Travis Hunter PTSD is a very real thing. And I'm sure a lot of people my age can identify with that, but even still to keep a professional mindset. Look, the way that Sunday ended was awkward, and the way that, the media, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, you're annoying, KJ. Why are you asking it in such a way?" And, the way that it was working up is you're working into the questions that everybody wants to know, right? You don't really want to start off throwing them a 100-mile-per-hour fastball right down the middle. Unfortunately, the media didn't really get to do that. He had to come back for the second part of the interview, and it's like, okay, we've got 2 questions. We need to figure out what everybody wants to know. And that's why it kind of felt so awkward. Obviously, you don't want to hit them with those questions right away. And when I had been hearing rumors about Auburn for the previous 2 weeks. I'd been in contact with some of the Auburn guys. They felt good about him. And then there was the news about Georgia sneaking back into the recruitment, which now we know that was a little bit more than true. They weren't just sneaking; they had been there as soon as December 4th. When Florida State got left out of the college football playoff. Now, if people want to derive and connect the two together, you can go ahead. But to go back and answer your question, I tried to keep it from a professional mindset. Does it suck as a recent grad? Absolutely. I was in school during the worst of the previous regime. On the other hand, I think, these are good problems to have. Florida State is being mentioned for some of the best recruits in the country. Again, you're going to lose out on some, but it stings. Don't get me wrong, but that's kind of how my mindset is on it.
Well, I will say this to all FSU fans and anybody that's upset about this. First of all, you can't miss something you never had in the first place. And this kid never ended up on campus, so you got to move on quickly, get over it. We heard Mike address it in a general way where he talked about the fact that they put a lot of time into work. We know he was referencing KJ, right? I mean, we were in the press conference, all of us. He said it was disappointing. He did not mention KJ by name, but I think we're all smart enough individuals to understand that that's exactly who the question was asked about and who he was answering to. But Bob, just to put a bow on it, what was your listen, I don't believe the kid about he made his mind up 3 weeks ago. But we're not here to bash KJ. We're here to talk about a very good recruiting class, and we've got Jaden Todd in our waiting room. But just your thoughts on KJ. I mean, we all expected Armando to bolt, but I'm not sure everybody thought KJ would.
I think Mike Norvell said it really well. He's going to go after the guys that he identifies as talented prospects and then see if the fit works for the prospect and for the coaching staff and the defensive scheme or offensive scheme. They felt like KJ fit. And I mean, of course, KJ is going to fit with a lot of teams. But you've got to go after those guys. And again, to the points that you guys have made earlier, you're going to miss on some of them. The frustration is, yes, how it developed, how it happened on signing day. Maybe it would have been better if this discussion had happened in public 3 weeks ago and he decommits. Maybe that's a better way for this to have unfolded. But KJ made his decision. That's fine. I think we understand it. This is still a really good class overall. I mean, Pat, 6 out of the top Rivals 100 prospects are in this class. Mike Norvell didn't have 6 in the prior 3 classes combined. So, yes, there's a lot to say Florida State missed out on. It's still a really incredible class, all things considered.
Yeah, and we've got one of the newest members of Florida State's recruiting class with us now, and we're going to bring him on. We're going to welcome Jaden Todd, one of the new FSU offensive linemen. He's got his Florida State shirt on there. Jaden, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It means a lot.
Well, tell us how your day was. You're now officially a member of Florida State. And by the way, Fish and I are going to get into a little bit about this with you as we get a little bit deeper. You remind us of somebody else that's already on Florida State's roster that we're big fans of. But just tell us a little bit about your day. Did you sleep last night? How early did you get up? I know you were the first guy to get his national letter of intent in. How fired up were you when you woke up this morning?
It was definitely exciting. I slept pretty well. Because I had to be up pretty early. But I got up around 6:45 this morning, sat with the fam for a little while, and then signed around 7, sent it in, and then was able to enjoy breakfast with my family. So it was a good experience. It felt real good to be able to put pen to paper and things like that.
Well, how did the recruiting process go for you? Are you glad it's over? I mean,
the process together can be kind of confusing. If you're a high school student and high school athlete going into it and you don't have guidance. But once you figure it out, you can learn to enjoy the process. And at the same time, you'll be glad it's over. But I did enjoy it. So.
All right. So at the end of the day, Jaden, why did you choose Florida State as where you wanted to play football and go to school?
Florida State, one of the main reasons I chose is the culture at Florida State is just unmatched. When you get there, you're going to be met with amazing coaches. I mean, great atmosphere, things of that sort. The love the team has for each other and the bond and the brotherhood they have at Florida State.
All right, Fish. We think that Jaden kind of reminds us of Chris Andre Otto, so I want you to ask Jaden some questions. And Jaden, while you're answering Fish's question, we're gonna bring one of your newer teammates in the room with you, as Camden Fryer is going to join us. But Fish, ask Jaden about whatever you want to ask him.
All right, no problem. Yeah, Chris, you're getting coached. You're gonna get coached by coach.
Jaden. That's Jaden.
I mean, that's right, Jaden. I'm sorry, Jaden. You guys got me a long day, Jaden. You're gonna get coached by Coach Atkins and stuff. Tell us a little bit about Coach Atkins, how he recruited you, the relationships that you build with him, and what you look forward to moving forward as a Florida State Seminole.
It was a long recruiting process. Like in the beginning, wasn't sure how it would work out, and then I just kept persevering and coming back to Florida State, working out at the camps, working hard and things like that. And then the offer came, and this was where I wanted to be. Coach Atkins, he's going to be a hard coach on you, but that's the guy that I want. That's another reason I picked Florida State. So you can be coached hard. He's going to make you a better person and a better player overall.
Where's he going to play you? What position right now are you going to be a tackle? Or are you going to move inside a guard? Where do you expect to start off at Florida State?
I think I'll start at tackle. I'm not real sure, and then I think I'll start out tackle and eventually move into guard. If I had to guess, that's what I think the process is going to look like.
Now, Jaden, you're kind of new to football, right? You were going to be you were a baseball player. You're first baseman. When did you realize football was going to be the sport for you?
Football. I grew up playing football my whole life. Had an injury my freshman year, but I always knew football would be my ticket, kind of. And I just realized my junior year that I needed to come back and get back on the gridiron and punch that ticket.
And you're going to enroll early, correct?
Yes, sir.
And what are you most excited about when you get to campus?
I'm really looking forward to just getting to learn the offense and things like that, getting around these guys, creating friendships, creating some brothers, and getting out on the football field and just getting after it pretty much, ready to go to work.
Well,
Jaden,
go ahead.
Sorry, Pat. Jaden, your offer came in on August 1st, and you ended up committing on August 1st. How would you describe it as an easy decision to choose Florida State in the moment? Were you just waiting on the offer? Did you know that Florida State was where you wanted to be in the end?
It was. I was kind of just waiting on it. I mean, Florida State's 3.5 hours from home. Great program, great coaches. I mean, not really anywhere else I would want to be.
Pat, go ahead.
All right. Well, Jaden, we've got one of your new teammates. I don't know if you guys have met. I'm sure you probably have somewhere along the way. But we've got Camden Fryer with us. Camden, how's it going?
Going good. How y'all doing?
Pretty good. Listen, I talked to your dad yesterday, and I had to be honest with. I wanted to be honest with him. He told me that, listen, Camden's going to be a lot better than I was, and I've known your dad since we were about 19 or 20 years old. We used to ride around in his old Ford Mustang with his. He had a Ford Mustang when he first got to Florida State with sunroof, and we'd ride around listening to George Strait. So it was kind of hard when he was talking to you about when he was talking to me. I was like, well, he said Camden's a little bit better than I am, and I wanted to say a lot better, but I couldn't do it to him. I went back and watched your film again yesterday, which I've watched several times. You're a heck of a player. But let's just talk about how relieved are you to finally be a FSU Seminole?
I'm very the recruiting process was fun. It was fun, but it can be a little tiring sometimes. When I knew I was going to be a Seminole, I was on dotted line, kind of get that out of the way. But just relaxed, breather, just before it was time to go ahead. But I'm really excited about it.
I know that you kept a low profile during your recruitment, but I know you had some big name schools now that you're signed with Florida State that kept on coming out of after you. Who was the school outside of Florida State that continued to recruit you the hardest?
Alabama was pretty persistent. about a couple months. They were the most. They probably showed up to the second most state. And so it was, I mean, it just, just I guess have options and just talk to the coaches. But they realized the place I wanted, and so probably most besides.
Camden, I'm gonna jump in real quick. I've never got to meet you. I'm glad to get this chance to meet you now. I saw your film as a junior and also your senior film. I personally think you're the top. I have you as rated as a slot receiver. I think that's where you'll play in college. You could play either side. You are. I feel you're the best receiver in the state at your position. What about your game do you think will translate well to Coach Norvell's offense and where you fit in the offense?
I'm excited to be able to be in Coach's offense. Watching me and my father watching it this year, we just got giddy. I'm excited about it. It was just fun watching his offense and the way he did that. I could agree with you. I would say I would have to agree with you about where I would play, but at the same time, talking to Coach Norvell, they just want I think they stated that they just want me everywhere. Not one spot, stuck anywhere, just all the positions, places where I could potentially be and be versatile. So I think I'm excited that, I do whatever they want me to do, just feel versatile in that way and be prepared for anything.
Now, I say this kindly, Camden. Was your dad going to let you back in the house if you signed anywhere other than Florida State?
He was. Always deep down, he wanted me to go there, but I mean, he and I appreciate him for this, but he respected me, as in where he was going to let me go wherever I wanted to go.
All right. So, have you and Jaden had a chance to meet yet?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm going to ask both of you a question. What is the thing you're going to miss least about the recruiting process?
I already know I get there that this happens to everyone who play college ball. Has told you, but, when you get there, dotted lines, things change a little bit. I mean, it's all for the good, but you get that what people call that special. I mean, you sound spoiled and like it. Everyone's human is going to enjoy, be appreciated for it. So, it's time to work now. It's time to just do it.
Jade, what about you? What are you going to miss the least about the recruiting process? And then what are you going to miss most about it? Because some of it is not bad.
The least, I mean, I've enjoyed it for the most part, but things like, I don't know, there's sometimes some hard decisions you have to make. So like some things like that, and things are probably what I'll miss the least. What I'll miss the most is probably like, I don't know, whenever you get to Florida State, like whenever you're on the team, you definitely, like as a freshman, it's going to be a hard thing to do. You're definitely not what you were in high school. Like everyone's kind of the same. So, I mean, but I'm definitely looking forward to that, facing that challenge.
Well, listen, y'all's phones are going to be a lot less active now because there's not going to be 500 people trying to contact you on a daily basis. How relieved are you of that? Like, you won't get texts from me anymore?
No, me either.
I mean, that's what I'm most excited about. But I appreciate y'all. All of y'all are very respectful. Y'all blow us up too bad, and I appreciate wanting to do this. I think it's cool. But just eventually, in over 4 years, I think I must have started my sophomore year, past 3 years. I'm excited. We talked about it a lot, and I've enjoyed it. Now it's time to do it. It's time to just go out there, do all this stuff that we've been talking about for years. Not so much having the text coach, call coach, FaceTime coach. I'll get them face to face every single day.
Yeah. Now, are both of you going to enroll early, correct, and go through spring? All right. Well, listen, guys, we know you've had a heck of a day. We just wanted to just get a couple minutes with you. Anybody got any last questions for these guys so we can let them go back to their families?
Yeah, I do. Camden, you and I have obviously had a pretty lengthy conversation together before. And, we talked about kind of how you and Luke and Cam and obviously later on Jaden were able to bring this class together. You talked about being to be able to recruit others. Now that signing day is finally here and you get to see this entire class together, just what's that feeling like for you? And Jaden, you can chime in as well.
I'm excited to just be able to guys and actually be able to form a relationship as teammates with them. Because we're all from different places. Luke's like 5 hours away. I'm from the ballpark. I think ballpark too. So not exactly close to me. So being able to just all live in Tallahassee together, every day work together. I think it's just finally just form a bond.
Hey, I've got a question for you guys. Do they make y'all live in the dorms when you come on campus the first year? I don't know how that has changed a lot since I was in college and in coaching. Do they make y'all live in the dorm the first year?
I don't think they do, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't think they make us. I'm definitely just just get the experience. Especially
everybody should have to live in Sally Hall at least for 1 year.
All right. So have y'all started picking out roommates yet? Have y'all gotten to that point in the process?
I haven't picked my roommate. I don't think. I mean, me and Ty have talked about rooming together, but I don't think we haven't like officially said anything.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. We talked about how it's going to work. That's coming early, so we're just gonna roll with whatever happens.
All right. Well, listen. I know you got a little brother. I think it's Cade, right, Camden?
Yes, sir. I do.
I heard he had a real good showing at the out at the combine out in Dallas, I believe it was.
Yes, sir.
Who's better between you and him?
We are very different. I don't think he'll ever be as fast as me. I don't think he will. But I mean, our hands, like he probably has the hands that I do, and I'm years older than him. 3 years grade, 3 years age. Like he should get better with his routes every day. I think we're very different receivers, but like he has the potential better than me.
So you got your mom's athletic ability, and he got your father's. Is that what you're telling me?
It sounds about right.
All right, guys. Well, listen, we're going to let you go. We know you got other things to do. I told you wouldn't keep you long. Congratulations. We know this is a big day for both of you. We look forward to seeing you guys on the practice field this spring, getting to know you a little bit better than we do now. But we certainly appreciate both of you being so gracious with your time. We know you get pulled in a lot of directions. You're both outstanding prospects, and we look forward to seeing you in January.
Yes, sir. We appreciate y'all.
Appreciate you guys.
All right, guys. All right, y'all have a great night.
All right, you too.
All right, I think Luke.
We had Luke for a second.
All right, we'll see if he comes back to us.
Hopefully Luke has a better landline.
Yeah, well, he does. He lives in Swanee. Come on now. You were making fun of Auburn the other day, and Swanee's. I'm going to try to send. Listen, we just had Luke Kromenhoek on here. He disappeared.
They just got internet last week or something there.
I don't know, man. I can't keep up with all of it. Let me, while you guys just continue to discuss. Well, listen, while we try to get Luke back on, Fish, tell us what you like about Luke Kromenhoek.
What do I like about him? He's a quarterback, and they need one. honestly, he's got a ton of. Honestly, you know what got my only look at him last year when he came to the summer camp, and you saw this big kid, big time arm. The physical tools are all there. Now we just got to see him actually play in an actual game to really evaluate him. I believe that quarterbacks, you have to see them play live to really gauge them, because you got to see how they play with adversity and everything. The physical tools, he's got the ability to play not only Saturdays but eventually Sundays with his tools. Now he has to put it all together, learn the playbook, show us that he could play the college game. But like I said, I think the tools are there for FSU to have a superstar type quarterback in the near future.
All right. Well, I believe Luke is going to join us here in a second. We're texting right now. He wants to join the show. He thought he was in trouble because he was late.
No. I think Luke, just looking at him, we were talking to Tony Tokars a little bit today. That interview will be available on the Osceola.com and the YouTube channel a little bit later if it's not already. But I think the one thing that he talked about was Luke's, not only his size, but also his athletic ability, his speed, running out of the pocket, rolling out. I think that, obviously we'll need to see Luke play, and Luke will need to see Luke play as well to get an idea what the college level is like. But I think really he has all the tools of the quarterback that Mike Norvell is looking for. You see some of those tools in Brock Glenn as well, and I think Luke is a little bit taller, but I think he's got all the qualities to be an excellent collegiate quarterback and potentially play on Sundays as well. I think we've got him back here, Pat.
Yeah, I'm fixing to let him in right here in a second. Bear with us, Luke. I'm coming back to you. I got a lot of things going on right this particular second, like advertising that you're here. All right, here we go. Luke, where did Luke go? Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Look, and Luke is prepared for the weather. He's got his toboggan on.
This is a true Seminole fan here. We don't have to ask him if he likes Florida State.
No, we know that. Listen, he's been committed forever. He's told Georgia to get out of here with their offer late in the process. Luke, how does it feel to finally be an FSU Seminole, man?
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome. I've been waiting for this day to come. I've been counting down the days to finally become a Seminole, and I'm just so excited that it's finally here.
Now, what was your favorite part of today? I mean, it's a big day for you and your family, and I've known your dad for a long, long time. But what was the day like for the family? How much sleep did you get last night? How many of the guys that you are teammates with have you talked to today?
Yeah, there wasn't a ton of sleep last night. I was up pretty late, actually. My brother had some friends over, some of his college friends over, so they were keeping me up, and I'll blame it on that, not the nerves. But it was a great ceremony today at the school. There was a ton of people that showed out, and it was a blessing to have all those people there to support me.
Luke, I'm going to jump in real quick. You look at what's happened with Jordan Travis as far as being developed as a quarterback. Here was a kid that when he came to Florida State did not have the tools even you had at the same stage, but he developed, worked hard, put himself in a position to be a very, very good quarterback at the college level. That development, how important was that to you and your family when it came to Coach Norvell and you picking Florida State?
Yes, sir. It was huge. I said this, I think it was 2 years ago when Jordan went down in the Louisville game and Tate came in, and, I felt like Coach Norvell played to Tate's strengths, and I felt like, he called the game to help Tate succeed. And I feel like that just speaks volumes about Coach Norvell and Coach Tokars, about how they know their quarterbacks, they know their strengths, and ultimately they're going to set us up to succeed.
Nick?
Now, right? So you had a great junior year. I've watched the tape. Now, obviously, because you didn't need to be recruited, you didn't post as many huddle highlights for your senior year as you did your junior year. But where do you think you got better as this year went along?
I think definitely just gaining more experience. I think that was a huge upgrade. I felt a lot more comfortable in the pocket. There were a couple times my junior year where, I'd feel pressure and the alarm would go off in my head to get out, and I'd end up missing some things down the field that I could have had. But this year I was able to stay in the pocket and kind of, I was more comfortable with pressure coming at me and being able to stay in the pocket and deliver the ball.
Yeah. Now, are you gonna practice for the bowl game with the team, or are you waiting until January?
Oh, yes, sir. I fly out Christmas morning at like 10:30. I'm flying to Miami to meet the team.
Well, that's a pretty good way to start college.
Yes, sir.
A trip
Yes,
to
sir.
Miami for a bowl game. That's pretty good.
Mom's not too happy about the Christmas day.
Welcome to Miami.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
well, I guess I'm sure your dad might like to join you in Miami, and you bring the whole
Yes, sir,
family.
definitely.
So your mom's. What time do you have to leave on Christmas Day?
I think my flight takes off at 10:30 something. So.
So you got to get to the airport early.
Yeah, mom's not going to be too happy about that.
Hey, the way he answered it, he's excited to come down here. I live in Miami, so welcome. We'll be your host.
Hey, Luke, I'm gonna give you one piece of advice at the bowl game. Don't spend all your per diem the first night. It makes for a long week. I've done that before.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Just have your friends take care of everything, man.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, what are you excited most about? I mean, what is it about Florida State? What do they do on offense that you think suits you best?
I'm just excited to get in there and be able to work with Coach Norvell and Coach Tokarts. You know, I feel like the offense that we run, you know, fits me super, super well. And I'm just excited to be able to go in there and compete every day and get better and better in practice. And, you know, hopefully, you know, work my way up the depth chart and work my way to become a starter.
Now, you kind of became the spokesperson for this class. You know, listen, you're young. I mean, right? You're what, 18? A lot of people don't really know how your age would not know how to assert themselves the way you did. You've become the leader, the spokesperson of this class. Where did you learn that leadership from? I mean, who were your biggest influences as you were growing up in football and learning how to lead a team and people?
Yeah, I think it just really comes down to my family. You know, I had an older brother, and you know, I learned a lot from him. His senior year, we actually started off 0-2, which would have been my sophomore year. We started off 0-2, and we ended up going on a rally. He held a team conference after we started off 0-2, and he kind of was like, just became a leader and kind of, you know, put people in their place, and we ended up, you know, rallying off 13 wins and going on to win a state championship. So yeah, I mean, I definitely look up to him when becoming a leader, and then, you know, also my dad. You know, he's been a great leader. He's coached me through little league and middle school, and so I've kind of just learned a lot from the both of them.
All right, so I've got another question I want to ask you because all right, so we were asking some of the recruits that were in official visits this last weekend about you and Cam, and they kind of said Cam was kind of like the father figure. He's kind of more
Yeah, he's like an old man.
Yeah, and they kind of said, well, and then one of the comments was, you wouldn't think that Luke acts the way he acts. So what do they mean by that? Are you kind of gregarious? And I mean, I don't know what he meant by that. I don't mean to embarrass you, but it seemed to me that what he was trying to say is that you have a lot more personality than most people would know.
Yes, sir. I'm just, to be honest with you, I'm a little too hyper at times. Sometimes I don't know how to tone it down. So, you know, I'll go roughhouse with people and mess around and tackle people in the most random places just because I feel like it. So that's probably what he's talking about.
Are you sure you should be playing quarterback then? Because sounds like you should be playing defensive line. No, so Luke, I mean, we've talked with Camden about this, about, you know, watching this class come together as one of the earlier recruits. And I know I've asked you before, like, how you don your recruiting hat sometimes. I know you said you were a little anxious last night, but just to sit there today, and I'm sure you were busy, but watch this entire class come together, knowing that you were one of the first commits in the class. Just what was that experience like for you? And you know, how are you feeling? I mean, obviously there's a couple more days in the early signing window, but how are you feeling knowing that everything's completed for the most part?
I mean, I feel great. I think that, you know, Coach Norvell and the entire staff, you know, have put together a great recruiting class. I think that, you know, everyone who's committed and, you know, who's a part of this class and who has stuck with this class this far, you know, we all kind of have the same mindset of, you know, we want to go in there and we want to earn it. You know, we don't expect anything given to us. And, you know, we kind of all have that same type of mindset. And, you know, not really knowing a whole lot of dudes in the beginning, like, we all came together, and like, I feel like right now we're already like super, super close as a class, which is just going to help us along down the road. And, you know, I'm just super excited to get to work with these dudes that are coming in. And, you know, I feel like the future is bright.
Well, yeah, Luke, because now you're going to have Camden, BJ, LaWayne, and Elijah all telling you, I'm open and I'm open all the time. How are you going to make sure all those guys get the ball when y'all get on the field together?
Yes, sir. You know, like I said before, you know, Coach Tokarts, Coach Jackson, and Coach Norvell, they do a great job of, you know, scheming to put the football in the playmakers' hands. You know, I have a feeling that a lot of dudes will be getting a lot of touches.
Yeah. Now, obviously, the team's going to be getting ready for a game while you're down there. Has Mike and Tony told you what their goal is with you down there? I mean, obviously, they're going to be kind of in game week. Is it just to kind of get you indoctrinated in how the program works, or what have they told you about what they expect from you that week?
Yes, sir. I think they just want to expose us to a high level practice. I mean, you're going to compete in the Orange Bowl against, the University of Georgia, the back-to-back national who ended up losing to Alabama, and we're going to play them in the Orange Bowl. It's going to be an intense practice, and I think they just want to show us what the high of high practice would be like. So for the dudes that are coming to practice in this bowl game, I think it's going to be a great experience for all of us, and I really think it's going to set the tone for our careers.
All right, so I do have one question. You mentioned Georgia, so I'm just going to bring it up. I'm assuming that's what your loyalty tweet was about, and listen, it is your home state school. I mean, and so how? I mean, was it just a definitive no? I'm done. I've been done for a while, and did it kind of irritate you that they came in like that?
Yeah, it definitely, it definitely irritated me a little bit. If you're from Georgia, you want to get like the hometown offer. Any Georgia kid's going to want a Georgia offer. I'm not saying it's the place that I felt like I would want to go, because I feel like Florida State is the place for me. But just being from Georgia, you want that offer. Every Georgia kid wants a Georgia offer, and they kind of, we played like phone tag for the longest time, and they brought me up there, and then they sent me home disappointed multiple times. Kind of making me think I was going to get an offer, and I just never did. So, for them to call in the 11th hour, I was kind of a little ticked off by that. And also, I was at the point in my recruitment where I was like, I'm not going anywhere else. I don't even want to listen to y'all. Like, I don't want to hear anything out. Like, I know where I'm at. I know where I want to be. And, I was 100% solid with Florida State.
All right, so I got to ask you. Go ahead.
Luke. You look at the history of the quarterbacks that have played at Florida State. You didn't get to see all of them play. I got to. I'm a little older than you. So, is there anybody that you kind of pattern your game over? Even guys that maybe you could go on the internet and watch that maybe you're like, you know what, that guy at Florida State's similar to my game.
To be honest with you, I don't. I think all of them in the past are unique in their own ways. And that's why I feel like I'm unique in my way. All those dudes, I mean, everybody was good at their thing, you know what I mean? And I just feel like I'm my own quarterback, so I don't really try to model my game to anyone. I feel like I'm going to come in there and I kind of want to set a standard for myself and kind of, perform that.
All right, so you mentioned recruiting, and so there's good and bad in recruiting, right? I mean, the bad is I blow you up on Twitter all the time and try to get you to talk to me, start texting you. There's also some good things, right? There's a lot of attention, which everybody loves attention to some extent. Some people more than others. But what is your favorite? What's the thing you're going to miss most about recruiting, and what's the thing that the reason you're glad it's over?
To be honest with you, I'm not really going to miss much. It kind of wasn't my thing, to be honest with you. I kind of wanted to just make my decision and then put it aside and focus on my high school career. But if I had to miss one thing, I guess it'd be, showing up for visits and, being treated like a king. That was pretty nice. I mean, nobody's going to complain like that. Going to complain about that type of stuff. So that was definitely a cool thing. And then, to be honest with you, I'm really kind of glad it's over. I'm kind of glad that I signed the paper today and that I'm officially a Seminole and I can start practice and everything like that. I'm really kind of happy that it's over.
All right. Well, I just got one last question for you. It has nothing to do with football. I met your parents back in the late 90s. They used to throw these great Halloween parties. Do they still throw the Halloween parties?
Oh, yes, sir. They do. It's actually been more of a New Year's party now. That's kind of Mom's kind of switched it from Halloween to New Year's parties. So the New Year's parties, they're pretty fun.
All right. Well, I'm sure they were. The Halloween parties, again, it's been since late 1990s. I still haven't forgot about them. It was kind of funny when I saw your dad for the first time when y'all came on campus. But listen, we know you've had a busy day, Luke. We want to appreciate you joining us giving us a little bit of your time. Congratulations on it. We can't wait to get you up here. Can't wait to see you in action. You'll see us all the time on campus and obviously at every spring practice. But hope you and your family have a great, albeit short, Christmas together. And we will probably see you in Miami, man.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it. Thank y'all for having me on today.
All right,
congratulations, Luke. Congratulations on your choice of Florida State, and good luck at the university. Meeting you now today, I think you're going to have a very bright future. So congratulations.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Listen, that was great. We got Luke to join us for a little bit. We've had Camden, we've had Jaden Todd. And I don't know, listen, we got this guy that pops up on our YouTube channel all the time and watches our show and then tells me how bad it is. So I'd like to tell he's posted a comment. Knowles guy, you don't have to watch. Go do something else, man.
Why? What?
He's hit me up on Facebook. Anyway, he's kind of I don't know what his problem is, but anyway, I just wanted to let him know that I find it funny that he doesn't like our show, but he watches all the damn time. So he's either doesn't know what the hell he's talking about or needs to find something else to do. Anyway, great visit by Luke. All right, so we haven't talked much about defense, Fish. So let's talk about the defensive backs. They got Kai Bates, Charles Lester, Ricky Knight, Jamari Howard, who I really like as I went back and watched this film. Just tell us a little bit about what's your take on the defensive back haul.
Yeah, most of these guys I really think are corners more than safety. So it's going to be interesting to see that, KJ was the true one guy that could play safety for them right away. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with these guys. They got 4 corners. I do think Ricky Knight could be a nickel slot corner. I really like Jabari Howard, what I saw from the state championship. It's not the coverage stuff. It's more of him being engaged. We talked about it with the one corner, the Teddy Foster kid that is signed with Florida, is that he wasn't really engaged if the ball wasn't thrown his way or the run was the opposite side. Jabari was constantly involved in the run game. He didn't mind to come up and tackle. He was physical, real long, athletic kid. He's versatile enough to play on the outside or kick them inside. I think he's going to be a very good player. He's a guy I could see coming in and getting snaps year one for Florida State.
Yep. We're moving the linebacker to Tamir Hickman-Collins and Jaden Parrish. I know that you were kind of one of the first people that kind of put Jaden Parrish on the radar. Randy had some really nice things to say about him today at the press conference. Kind of what's your take on the linebackers?
Yeah, I think Jaden is a big physical kid. He was bigger than I thought originally when you go to meet him. He's probably around that 6'2" mark. I think he'll be about a 225, 230-pound linebacker. He's versatile enough. Once again, he could either play inside or you could kick him outside. He's athletic enough to cover a tight end. He's a 3-4 down linebacker. He's not one of these guys you're going to have to take off the field on passing downs. You see him on offense. I've seen him bust off like 60-yard runs, so you know he can run well. He has all the tools to be a very good player. I expect him to be in the rotation next year. I definitely think with their need for linebackers and depth at that position that he'll have a chance to come in, play special teams, run down on some kicks, and be a guy. Hickman is more of a project. You do see some of the tools that he could be a good player down the road, but I think he's someone that is a guy that's more 2-3 years from now. And then it comes down to him just being patient, waiting his turn. Can he be like a Deloge type that early on you didn't see a whole lot of? By year 2, year 3, you start to see more and more. And by his final year, he was one of the better players, linebackers in the ACC. So he's one of those guys I think can be developed down the road and be a potential starter at that point.
All right, now we're not going to get. We got to ask a question about Christopher Mayfield, and I just want to ask you a simple yes or no question. I don't want to get into names because nobody can be on campus right now if they haven't visited and they're in the portal. They're probably not coming. But they've added Marvin Jones at defensive end, or are apparently going to. He's committed. He obviously has not signed because they could not talk about him today. Are there any defensive tackles in the portal? Do you think they'll take a portal defensive tackle, portal linebackers? What Christopher wants to know.
Yes, I do. I think that once today ended and you saw that they only signed one D tackle, one D end, I think they're going to sign one more at each position. I could see them taking another D end. Listen, the one thing that Florida State showed this year and why they were so successful wasn't the starters, it was the depth of guys that they could roll in. I think they like that luxury and want to continue to have that on that side of the ball, because you don't want guys having to play the whole game. They're not going to be as effective in the fourth quarter. The fact they were able to rotate so many guys in this year, that's why they're going to keep, I believe, go to the portal and try to add some more players up front.
Yeah, listen, and I think both of the guys they signed up front are going to be in the tackles. I think that now, listen, D.D. Holmes may stay at defensive end, but he's already 6'6", 250. Now he may be one of those freakish JPP type guys, Kando types that are long and can stay lean and even at 270 pounds or 280 pounds. But so do you think there's a chance that we'll see a defensive end in the portal?
Yeah, I definitely think they're going to have to. I think that MJJ may end up being more of a stand-up outside linebacker instead of a traditional defensive end. I don't know if he's got the body type to really put his hand in the dirt at his weight and his size and take on tackles and everything. I think he's more of one of those guys that'll play off the edge and try to get him off the edge and become a pass rusher. I think that they do need more of a guy. It'd be great to get another Jared Verse, but someone with that size that has that length that can help set the edge, help stop the run game for opposing teams. I think they would like to have one more guy at that position.
And then, of course, they added Denaz White late, about 6 o'clock. He's the second defensive tackle they took in. So now, out of those defensive guys, Nick, who are you most excited to see either this spring or next fall?
Out of the defensive linemen or just the defense in general?
Defense in general.
I'm a really big – well, I think Jaden Parrish – I agree with Fish. I think Jaden Parrish is going to get some early time, and I would be really interested to see how his spring goes, because talk about a guy that can go sideline to sideline and is not afraid to lower the shoulders and hit. I found his film to be very impressive, and I think he had a great senior year. But I'm also really impressed with Ricky Knight. I think that he's a name that kind of got forgotten when you talk about the KJ Boldens and then the Charles Lesters and even the Kai Bates. I think that Ricky Knight is going to be a really good player here at Florida State. He can play nickel. He could play outside corner. I can't remember exactly what the stat was, but I do remember seeing a stat that he was one of the highest ranked defensive backs in terms of pure coverage in the entire country this year. So, I mean, I think that he has a really, really bright future at Florida State, and I'm excited to see him. And personally, getting to talk with him, he's a really good kid, very humble, hard worker, and I'm excited to see what he does when he gets here.
Yeah, the other guy that stands out to me, of course, I saw him in person. It probably means a little bit more to me, but Jamari Howard, we saw him at the state championship games, and Mike went on and on about him today, and I can't wait to see him on defense. Listen, I know we know less about him because he's from Fort Mill, South Carolina, but I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what the Hickman Collins kid can do. I think I think both these kids are upgrades over some of the kids they've taken in the past at linebacker. I'm not talking about Blake. I'm talking about more like the two guys that have transferred out after being here for a year or so. I do think that linebacker recruitment has improved this year at the high school level based over what it has been. Fish, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think he's definitely a kid. Listen, the guys that they had here were, early on, you're trying to add depth, and sometimes you're just trying to roll the dice and hit on those kids. So these guys are more guys that got to really evaluate, and they're guys that fit what they're trying to do. Like I said, I think he's more of a Deloche type, someone that down the road, 2 or 3 years down the road, if he's patient, could be a very good player.
All right. Well, Fish, now who would you most like to see or look forward to seeing in the spring or fall out of this freshman defensive class?
I'm trying to think. Lester's one. I want to see how he plays. I watched him in the state title game. He didn't get really tested in the state title game. They didn't throw his side, so I'd like to see someone like that because he's a very good recruit, but he had kind of an up and down senior year. I want to see how he does going against better competition, getting coached up. Lester is one of those guys. I'm really excited. I want to see, what's his name? Gibson. I want to see where he ends up.
Yep.
I know he's listed as a receiver. Does he get moved over now to the safety position now that they don't really have a safety in this class? And I do think that's one position they do need to have a little depth. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with those guys that are more athletes that they brought in, him and McCoy. Do they become part of the equation moving forward on the defensive side?
Yeah, and they both seem naturals at receiver. I know Luane's probably played a little bit more defense than BJ. Most of all of BJ's highlights are at receiver, where he's got really great ball skills. It's fun to watch him play. I think you might have mentioned him as being one of the more underrated guys in this class. I think he and Camden both. I think Camden just because of the fact that he committed so early. But you watch his film. Just talk about. I think we kind of briefly hit on it when Luke was on, but. What do you guys think about this recruiting class as a whole, where you got Camden, BJ, Luane, and Elijah Moore?
You could go, Nick. It's fine. Jump in.
If you're speaking just about the wide receivers, here, this even without nabbing Jeremiah Smith today, I felt like this was one of the better wide receiver classes in the country. You take a look at Camden and what he can do both inside and outside. He's got speed that'll fool you. You'll never think that a white guy can run that fast, but he is really, really fast. Both if BJ ends up at wide receiver, the way that I have heard him described to me is silky smooth in his route tree, a guy that can locate the ball really, really well and make it look effortless doing so. And then you have a guy, Elijah Moore, who flipped from Ohio State earlier in the summer and then never really wavered in that. And he's kind of somebody that got forgotten about a little bit, I think. And I think that, he's going to have to develop his route tree a little bit in college, but he's also a big-bodied receiver, kind of in the mold of a Keon, or definitely not as tall as Johnny, but he's definitely a big-bodied receiver to come in and kind of fill that void. And I'm excited to see what he does as well. I think this is a great wide receiver class. Obviously, you were looking and hoping for the cherry on top, but this is definitely nothing to sleaze at. These are all playmakers. There are a lot of guys here that can see action in year one, and I'm interested to see, what they're able to do.
Fish, what about you at the receiver position?
Yeah, they've got a little bit of everything. They got size. They got some speed. They got some good route runners. Like I said, I think, what Camden is probably it's criminal that he's a 3-star receiver. It really just shows that, this is one of those kids that just didn't go to camps, didn't go to combines, and he's been penalized by it. But I think once he steps on the field, he's a guy that I honestly think out of this class could be an early contributor. I think he's very much like a Rashad Green, where he could come in day one and make an impact and get noticed. Listen, their receiving room is very young. There's not a ton of experience, and it wouldn't shock me if he moved to the top of that depth chart really quickly.
I agree with you on that. Out of the 4 receivers, I think he is most likely to play early out of that group. If you're listening, watching us, whatever you're doing, go back and watch Camden. It's all BJ's is impressive. Listen, Elijah's is impressive, but I think Camden will surprise you a little bit with his explosiveness. He's got a great vertical. He competes for the ball. I think people are going to be really impressed. As I was joking with Camden earlier, he's definitely a better athlete than his father. His father was highly productive. So, but anyway, I think that group goes. Well, we talked with Jaden Todd on the offensive line, but Fish, just your thoughts on the group. Ty Hilton, Manasseh Atiti, Jaden Todd, and Who am I missing? Jonathan Daniels.
I don't think there's a blue chip in this group, but I definitely think that the floor is higher than some of the kids they've taken in the past. The one thing is when you look and you watch, these guys really get after it. You look at Ty Hilton, and there's a lot of plays where defenders are on their back. He likes to finish. He has a bit of a mean streak, the way that he plays. You got to like that. These guys are physical. They're not just big guys that just, overwhelm guys with their size. They actually can move. They don't allow guys to cross their face. Their technique's very good. And they got a good group. Meeting the Todd kid again today, I think if this kid is willing to work hard, and I think he is, and seeing his personality, I think he's very similar to Otto in that he's going to be productive at Florida State. It comes down to, with these kids, especially on the O-line, as you know, it's not just about the talent. It's willing to put the work in, learning the position, and just physically getting bigger and stronger so you can handle playing against a lot bigger guys than you were in high school.
Yeah. Nick, what do you think? What are your thoughts on the offensive line group as a whole, and who you looking forward to seeing the most out of that group?
Yeah, I think Fish summed it up pretty good. Maybe there's not a quote unquote true blue chip in this class, but Jonathan Daniels is obviously somebody that they talked about really highly today at the press conference. And Manasseh Atiti, that kid's a mauler. He's got a chance to be probably one of the first true tackle prospects that Florida State has signed as of recent. So it's a group that is. There's not going to be somebody on there that you immediately look at and you say, okay, that's going to be a maul of an offensive lineman in the next 2 years. There's a lot of kids that are probably going to need to develop, get in the weight room and be here around year 3 or year 4. But there's definitely a lot of upside in this group. There's definitely talent. You could see the fundamentals, and you can see the ceiling that these guys have, or at least the potential that these guys have. And it just comes down to whether they're going to, how hard they're going to work and how well they adapt to playing at the collegiate level.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting group to watch. The kid I really like to watch play. Listen, I think they're all 4 good prospects, but the kid I'd like to watch play out of that group. Now, listen, obviously, Jaden has not been playing as long as some of these other kids, but Ty Hilton just plays so hard, and he's a physical guy. He kind of reminds,
doesn't miss games or practices.
Yeah, that's what I saw something on Twitter about that. I'm not sure what it was, but I did see that. But yeah, listen, he plays so hard, physical kid. Maybe doesn't have all the dimensions you're looking for. I know one of the reasons they didn't offer him earlier because they were worried about his weight, his ability to put on weight. But I certainly look forward to seeing him. And now we'll move on to the running backs, guys. We were hoping to have Cam Davis on. We talked with Cam yesterday. He was going to try to join us, but he had a 6:30 team dinner, and we did not want him to break from that to join us. And if he finished early enough, he was. But Fish, I know this is 2 running backs you really, really like. Just talk about what stands out to you about Micaiah Danzy and Cam Davis.
Yeah, I mean, Cam kind of fits that mold of what Trey is, big physical back. He's going to take those reps, I believe, when they go to more, they want to run more power and stuff, and has the ability to break the long runs. Very similar to Cam Akers in that he's going to have to learn how to play running back in college. He's played a lot of quarterback or with the Wildcats. So it is going to be a little bit of a transition. You saw with Cam that he's got to learn just different things being a running back than a quarterback just running. I really like Makai. I think he's another kid that honestly could be a high 4-star kid. He's electric with the ball in his hands. He's not one that's going to punch it through and try to get physical. I think he's a better version of Lawrence Toafili in that he could do a lot of the things that Toafili could do, but better because of his top-end speed. He can score from anywhere on the field. I think he's a guy that's going to be playing on special teams, returning kicks and punts. You just want to get the ball in his hands, get out of the way, and let him do his thing.
What do you think, Nick? What is your take on the running back haul?
Yeah, that's a good shout. I think I could definitely see Danzy as a dangerous kick return and punt return threat if that's in his wheelhouse. I'm not exactly sure. I seem to recall that he is planning on running track as well at Florida State. He's got incredible top end speed. And really the way that I view both Davis and Danzy really is kind of just obviously not the same as both Benson and Toafili, but you see a lot of the same things where Benson is more of the pounded and thunder, and then Dansley is the lightning. That if you get him out in space, maybe throwing to the flat out of a wheel route, that he is going to be able to get out into space and get down the sidelines very quickly. I think these are two great signings. Obviously, Cam Davis has been committed forever since I think February of 2021. He's a mature kid. He is built like somebody my age in terms of, well, definitely not me. I'm definitely do not have the physique of Cam Davis. Let's make that very clear.
Very few people in America do.
No, he is. Gosh, he is built and ready to play.
Little Herschel.
Yeah. That's a good comparison. I think that this is a great group of running backs that Mike has brought in, and I think that and especially in terms of how Yak and how Norvell like to use running backs in the offense, there's definitely a lot to like in terms of the tools that they have that you can see in the next couple of years.
All right, and two guys we have not talked about yet. And Fish, I know you really like Landon Thomas, the tight end prospect from Colquitt County. Mike said today he thought he was the best tight end in the 2024 class. We've seen him play a lot of slot and wide receiver, not so much as a unit tight end. What do you think about his prospects?
I like that when you turn on the film, he'll line up outside and as an outside wide receiver. They kick him back in. He could play inline tight end. I think his versatility and what Mike likes to do with the tight ends. You saw this year when he had tight ends, the usage rate and what he was able to do with Jaheim and also Morlock. I think this kid's a little bit of combination of both of those guys. He's got a little bit of Jaheim from the ability to move him around the field, put him in different spots, but he also can do what Morlock did. I think he's going to be a pretty good blocker and inline blocking, and then being able to run that deep seam and being able to get down the center of the field and utilize that part of the field, I think is very huge for FSU when you have a tight end, because those guys are almost you can't defend them. If you're a defensive coordinator, you don't really want to have to move double team to get a tight end and cover him. So I think he brings a lot to the table. I think he's another player. I think he's going to surprise and be able to get on that field early, because I don't think they have a lot of talent in that tight end room. It's not a knock against those other guys, but with Jaheim leaving, I think he's going to have a great shot to play early and often. If he's an early enrollee, I definitely think you could see some things out of him this spring.
Yeah, and then, of course, they added the number one kicker in the nation in Jake Weinberg. We don't talk about kickers unless they miss kicks. But
Nick, that's your job.
I do think I do think that Florida State.
This is like rookie hazing. But with recruiting.
Listen. You
talk about the kickers, Nick. You look like a kicker.
No. I mean, he's got a strong leg. We know that. He's very accurate. We know that. I'm just saying. I mean, they're not as sexy to talk about in the recruiting process, right?
No.
And when they sign, I mean, we just want to see them make kicks. But so many games come down to field goals in football. It's important. And listen, they got the number one, and I can't remember whether it was Coles. Jamie Cole's services, who I think he was trained by the Coles camp, and listen, they had him number one. That guy does not miss many evaluations. So Florida State did get I have not watched his film. I've seen some highlights of him on Twitter. He has a very strong leg. Routinely makes them from 50+ yards in warm-ups easily. I think I've seen him make a 60-yarder on Twitter before. So, but they took care of just about every position from a high school thing. High school perspective. They've got Marvin Jones coming in at defensive end at some point. We know, based on some of the things that we heard today, that they're certainly not through at the portal level, and probably maybe not even through with the high school, because they had Amari Williams, a defensive end from South Florida, who reclassified to 2024. And so we do expect to see Florida State to continue to add people to their roster. Obviously, it's as we heard a tremendous amount today from Mike and Derek Ray and the rest of the guys we interviewed, because of the portal, both internally and externally. This is going to continue to be a fluid situation until at least 5 days after the bowl games end, because Florida State's players and the players that are playing in bowl games will have up until 5 extra days after the portal ends if they're outside the portal window. So there's still a lot to go on. Obviously, we will continue to have updates on theosceola.com or floridastate.rivals.com. We have every kid that Florida State signed, and we have evaluations that Fish and I did on every single story that Nick, Bob, and Kurt worked on today. So please go to theosceola.com or floridastate.rivals.com and check out our player profiles and their evaluations that go with them. Obviously, we'll continue to keep you posted. We will have interviews. We'll have stories on the interviews we did with the coaches and their comments about the players that they signed at their positions. We went down to the Moore Center today. So we will have a lot of news on recruiting. In addition to our Orange Bowl coverage, Florida State will be on the practice field again tomorrow as they get ready for Georgia. Our team will be there to cover practice. I know Bob's going to be there with Jerry. I'm going to try to make it north for Santa Claus, but I don't know if I'll be at practice or not. But go to theosceola.com or floridastate.rivals.com and check us out. We will have evaluations on all 22 players at Florida State signed today. And then, of course, appreciate you. We were so thankful to Luke and Jaden for coming on today, and Camden. They've had a very busy day. This is a life-changing day for them, and they took time out of their schedule to join us, so we really appreciate that. But a good day for Florida State as they signed 22 high school prospects and are currently ranked 11th in the nation by Rivals as far as the top recruiting class. Hey, Fish, Nick, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate all y'all's hard work over the last couple of days. And Fish, obviously you have a business going on the side, and your primary business. You help us out, and we're so thankful for that. Bob, thanks for joining us. We'll have Kurt back on another time, Jerry back on another time. But please check us out at theosceola.com or floridastate.rivals.com. And, of course, sign up and subscribe to our Osceola YouTube channel because you can sign up for alerts and know when we're doing these live shows or even tape shows. And you can actually go to the Osceola YouTube now. We've got some video up on the site from the coaches' press conferences today. I know Mike Norvell's is up, I believe. Bob, you can just shake your head if I'm right about that, and we'll get some assistant coaches on there as well. But thanks for joining us. Everybody have a great night, and go have a victory beer if that's your thing, because that's what I'm fixing to get ready to do. All right, guys. Thank you.